Okay, here we go. When you look at the menorah, what do you see? Somebody? Somebody? Nobody? Anybody? Oh, we have somebody in the back here. What do you see? Fire! Guys, did you see fire over here? Now somebody tell me, when you look at fire, what happens to fire? What's unique about fire that I haven't found anything else in the world that has done this? Not that I've been all over and over it, but this is one thing that I see. What's one element of fire that you can't find in anything else? What is it? We have a chemical engineer who's going to hopefully back me up on what I'm telling you over here, so I hope I'm right on what I'm going to tell you. When you take a fire and you turn it one way, you turn it the other way, it always goes in what direction? Which way? Up. Is there anything that you know of in the world that has that tendency that no matter what you do, you take smoke and you turn it this way, it starts going which way? Fire always goes straight up. Am I correct about that? Pretty much. It's pretty amazing.
A credit card bill.
He's right. That's talking. I got to stop saying that.
You set it on fire.
So here we go. When you take fire and you turn it any which way, it always goes up. Why? It's going back to its source. And it's going back to the source. Now I'm going to tell you something. I know this for a fact. That when you take a fire, when you take something, you take a match, or you take anything with fire, and you turn it which way, this way or that way, it always goes back to its source. You know how I know that? Because when I was approximately 5 or 6 years old, I was in my house, and I decided to try this. Of course, I didn't ask anybody's permission to do this. And I took a match, and I lit it. And I took it like this, and I took it like that, and I turned it every which way. And every way I turned it, it always went up. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. I was really smart being able to figure this out. Until I started to burn my fingers, and then I threw it in the garbage. Not a good idea. Guess what happened?
The garbage caught fire.
That's right. Guess who got into a lot of trouble that night?
You.
Very good. These guys are more alert than you are. All right. Now, let's go to the second part, the story. If you do not get a life-changing element out of this story, then I got to make sure I got to take the pulse, because I'm not sure. All right? Here we go. A while back, on Montgomery Road, there was a railroad crossing there. And unfortunately, because of budgets and what have you, not all railroad crossings actually had a gate that went up and down. And this particular place did not have a gate that went up and down. And in order to be able to combat that, the railroad company decided that they would take a person and they put him into like a little gatehouse. And there, whenever he would hear a train coming, because trains are pretty loud, he would go out with his lantern and he would wave it back and forth to make sure no cars went through. It's a simple job, seemed to be working for many, many years. Until one night, train started coming, and Charlie goes out of his little hut there. He takes his lantern and he starts to wave it. But the car didn't stop. And he waves it more and more. The car didn't stop. And he waves it more and he screams, "Stop, stop!" At the last minute, Charlie dove out of the way. And I don't want to tell you, it was a terrible, terrible. You hear the shrieking of the metal. A small little car being brought up against such a powerful use of force. Crushed the car to its entirety. There was a lawsuit. And in this lawsuit, they bring all these, the lawsuit was trying to be able to get money for the person that was driving through. And they went up, and it was the last person that was to be brought up on the chair there. And they bring him up, and they say, "Charlie, They never asked me if I lit the lantern before I went outside. And henceforth, this is what happened. And I'm going to ask all of you, when we go through our lives, are we going through motions of waving and waving a lantern that's empty? When we look at our candles, are we looking at them with an empty level and just absorbing just from a superficial standpoint? When we daven, are we davening with the level of geschmack that it's all about? When we say good morning to somebody, are we saying good morning with the level of happiness and goodness that you're going to be able to permeate the person and bring happiness through